Hey guys, what is going on? Welcome to my channel, and in this video I will show you the best settings for OBS Studio for streaming at 1080p 60 frames per second. So first of all, if you do not have OBS Studio, I do have it downloaded here. You go to obsproject.com and here you download the OBS Studio and you choose your operating system here. And then you install it and it shows this is the logo, and you turn it on and it looks like this. Okay, so the most important things that you have to do is go into settings. This is a dark theme. Yours probably will look like this when you first install it, but I don't really enjoy the color, and so therefore I go and put it into dark. You can also choose this theme, but for me this is the best looking theme, so I choose this one. This is basically all you have to do in the general tab. For the stream tab, here is where you will choose which platform you stream on. So you have up here stream services, and you can choose Twitch, YouTube, Mixer, Facebook, and other streaming platforms. And then here is your stream key, where you get it from the streaming service you're using. So if you're using YouTube or Twitch, they all have a setting where you have your stream key there. You copy it and you paste it here. Just make sure you don't show it to anyone, because then they will be able to stream from your account. I think the most important part right now is the output tab. So when you open the output tab, you will see this layout. Make sure you change it to advanced, and then you're gonna stick to the streaming tab because this is what you will be interested in. If you want me to do a video on recording tab and how to set this up, just let me know, but for now I'll stick to the streaming tab. So here you don't mess with the audio track, but you then make sure to go onto the encoder. Now here I personally use the NVENC H264, which is the NVIDIA encoder. You can also choose the X264, which is the processor. If you have a very strong processor, you can use this one for encoding. This uses your GPU, and again, if you have a strong GPU, I suggest you choose this one. I have an i7 7700K, and for me streaming at 1080p 60 frames, it's not good enough. My processor just can't handle that, so therefore I go for the NVENC. Here you make sure that you check the enforce streaming service encoder settings, and the rescale output is set to 1080p. Now if your resolution is 1080p, then you don't need to mess with that, but for me, my resolution is 1440p, and therefore I go to the video tab. I have my base resolution to 1440p, and then my output resolution will be set to 1080p. For the downscale filter, make sure you choose a bicubic. This is good enough. You can also go for the 32 samples, but I personally find this good enough. And for the FPS values, you choose 60. So you go to common and then set 60. Now going back to the output tab, rate Control Cbr. This is the best option. Now the bitrate actually is set in terms of your upload speed. So make sure you go on to the speed test website and check for an upload speed. I will put here in the screen the kind of values you have to use in terms of your upload speed. So my upload speed is somewhere around 9 megabits per second. That means that a bitrate of 5000 is good for me. Now YouTube basically allows from 4500 bitrate up if you want to stream 1080p at 60 frames, and Twitch allows I think from 4000 to 6000, and YouTube, yeah, for 4500 to 9000 for 1080p 60 frames per second. I choose 5000, which is in between those values, because this is what my upload speed lets me do. Keyframe intervals, they all suggest to use 2, and the rest you can use as it is. So basically the video and the output are the most important parts that you have to choose. Now the trick that basically tells you, you know, and allows you to basically stream with no lag. And this is the thing that I learned through trial and error, because I was streaming, my bit rate was within limits, everything was within limits as I read on the internet when I first set it up, but my stream wasn't still fully 60 frames per second, which means that my game was running 60 frames per second. OBS showed here that it's 60 frames per second, but when I looked at my stream, it wasn't 60 frames, it was 30 or 45. Now that means that if you use either of those two encoders, they will use a certain percentage of usage for each frame they encode. So let's say your game runs at 150 frames per second, but you're streaming at 60, then your GPU will try to encode each one of those 150 frames. So, and they will use about 6% of its usage for those. That means that trying to encode all those frames into 60 frames, it will be very consuming for it. And you can go into the view tab here, and you have the stats. So when you're in a game and you're streaming, you will see that the FPS, this FPS will drop. If your stream is not 60 frames, then this will not be 60 frames. So make sure when you're trying out your stream that you check this value here, which is under the view stats tab, and you will see that the frames missed due to rendering and skip frames due to encoding, this number will go up. And if you have this issue with your game, then make sure you go into the settings of the game and cap the game to 60 frames per second, because then the GPU or your CPU wouldn't have to do that extra load to bring down and encode those frames above 60, because then in the recording it will be 60 anyway. So to make sure your stream is fully 60 frames per second and you don't use any frames by rendering or encoding, then go to your game and cap the game frames to 60, and then some extra load will be taken off from the hardware, and then it will be purely dedicated to those 60 frames that you want to transmit to your stream. So this is a very important tip that I found out, is that capping my game to 60 frames per second will take the load from the GPU or CPU depending on the encoder, and will allow me to stream a beautiful, truly 60 frames per second image to my stream, given that it's in the bitrate boundaries. So basically this is it about the streaming settings and what I think are the best streaming settings to stream at 1080p 60 frames per second, a true 60 frame image. If you're having, make sure, keep this in mind, this is a 1 PC setup. If you're having a 2 PC setup, that's a whole different story, but this is a 1 PC setup. Using these settings for me worked out the best by far, and I just hope that they will work out fine for you too. So thank you so much for watching. Just let me know if you want me to do a recording tab as well, or how to set up your stream using Streamlabs. I will make another video about the Streamlabs OBS, which is an OBS made by Streamlabs. But for now, this is it. Thank you so much for watching, and make sure you stay tuned for a different video.